Hi, this is John. We just wanted to say thank you very much to everybody who subscribed to us on YouTube. It's really amazing. Gav and I have been blown away by the response we've had to the videos. It's fantastic. Thank you very much. And thank you to everybody who follows us on Facebook and Twitter. And especially thanks to all our Patreons too. It really means a great deal to us. Thank you. Okay, we've had a few questions from our subscribers on YouTube. Beaver's Master asks, when do we start researching all about the different quirks each prop has? Well, that didn't really start until Gav joined me in researching the props. I began the website in 2002 and did really basic research for 2 to 3 years. Never really looked that hard at any of the props individually. I was only really sort of counting numbers and that sort of thing at that point. But when Gav came along, everything sort of took off. So it was really around about late 2004, 2005, if my memory is right. And that's when the point is we started to really look at individual parts, and therefore then being able to actually refer to them as numbered parts and put them together in that way.
Hello, Gav here. I also want to add my sincere thanks to everyone who has subscribed to us on YouTube, retweeted us, given us leads, donated us pictures. So many people have helped us get to this point, and one of the people who I think has helped bring some extra flair to the videos and a touch more credibility, so we're not reliant on lifting everything from stock material, is the incredibly talented Graham Allen. So that stupid sexy Flanders asks me to tell you about the brilliant Graham and his music. Well, I will let Graham tell you himself.
My involvement in these videos came about in early 2018 after Gavin asked around on Facebook if he knew anyone who could provide him with a few minutes of music for something he was working on with Jon. My friend Mark commented that I might be interested. I produced background music for some training videos years ago, so I did have some experience, and I said I'd be happy to help. Gavin got in touch and said he wanted music evoking the soundtrack of the second Dalek movie, and I sent him over some samples, and he was happy to let me go off and work up a few tracks, and they worked well with what eventually turned out to be the Shepperton episodes. A year later, Gavin messaged me and said he was ready to complete these videos, and he wanted a short piece of title music. He asked me what the most iconic music associated with the Daleks was, and joking, I sent him the music for the Death to the Daleks Part 1 cliffhanger in all its saxophonic glory. But Gavin said he loved that and suggested an arrangement in the style of Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. I put a track together and called it Terry Nation Army, and that title kind of stuck. For the other episodes, I had a quick listen to the music for the Doctor Who stories that were under discussion and tried to keep the vibe of the original soundtracks in my work. It was great fun tracking down some authentic 80s sounds for the Remembrance one. Some of the pieces are on my own YouTube channel, and I've made some animations to go along with the music, so please feel free to pop along for a listen. Thanks to Jon and Gav for having me, and massive congratulations on reaching 10,000 subscribers. It's a fantastic achievement and well deserved after all your hard work.
Dalek Supreme asks, have the Bernardo's Daleks ever been found? The short answer to that is no, unfortunately they haven't. We've managed to trace one of them to, I think, around about 1965, and another is known to still exist in 1969 at Stepney Causeway, when the Stepney home closed down. But unfortunately, from then onwards, the prop seems to vanish, and there's been no trace of them since. There are rumours that one of them went to another home and ended up in some sort of bog behind the home. The kids pushed it in there for a joke, I assume. But unfortunately, it's something we constantly look out for evidence of where they might be, and hopefully one day they will turn up.
This question actually comes from one of our extremely kind and generous patrons, and we really genuinely appreciate how wonderful it is that people are supporting what we're doing. So this is Ronald Binney. He makes a very kind comment about how we put our stuff in a wider context. But he asks a really good question, which I'm frustrated I didn't think to ask myself and answer in the video about the Slither. What animal noise was used for the roar? Well, this is what it sounded like in the episode. So I took it into my audio software and tried to undo what Brian Hodgson had done to the original sound, and it came out like this. And living as I do on the coast, I'm pretty sure that's a seagull. Here is a seagull for comparison. And here is the Slither again. So let me know in the comments if you disagree, but I think the Slither is a treated sound effect of a seagull.
Here's one from the brilliantly named I Really Didn't Want to Make an Account. Could you talk about the Imperial Daleks from Revelation? They don't get mentioned much on YouTube, and they seem to be the start of some alterations of the original designs. Yes, that they are. They were the first of a new breed, a new style. They have their roots back slightly further than Revelation, back to the Liverpool Garden Festival. I don't want to talk about it too much now because we may be covering some of this in Series 2.
Nice comment here from Dr. Whom. Fantastic channel. Hope you reach 10k. Thank you very much. Favourite Dalek design? I'm torn, but I will go with the Imperials from Remembrance of the Daleks because they made a huge impression when I was 9. I like them so much, I built one. Least favourite Dalek design, it would be easy to jump on the New Paradigm bandwagon, so I will. But also, specifically, the stone version in The Big Bang, for some reason, I don't know, it just bugs me. The logical part of my brain just can't cope with the idea that it's supposed to be stone and still functioning as a machine, but then I'm pathetic. Question 3, what a great question. If I could go back in time and meet Terry Nation, what would I say? I suppose I should say something meaningful, like thank you for a phenomenal legacy and a creative injection into a show which no doubt kept it running for nearly 6 decades, and for giving me employment and for giving me a hobby. But realistically, I would be letting the channel down if I didn't ask him what happened to the other 3 of his Daleks before he went to the States in 1986. Were they really stolen? What happened to the other one he supposedly donated? And it would be nice to know if he definitely bought them for the production or marketing of his spin-off series, The Destroyers. That would definitely be a good use of my precious time with this legend of a man.
Okay, we have a couple of questions here regarding the exhibitions, Doctor Who Experience and the Blackpool exhibition. Firstly, Jackie Blakeman asks about the props of the Doctor Who Experience in Cardiff. Initially, there was a lineup of Daleks throwing the props through the ages from the 60s onto the New Paradigm Daleks. Most of these were in fact replicas. The Special Weapons Dalek was the original prop, and the Yellow Paradigm was the original prop, but the rest of them were replicas. Over the years, as the displays were moved around, occasionally one of the bronze New Series Dalek props would have been added to the display, and one of the replicas was moved elsewhere. Eventually, of course, with Asylum of the Daleks and the Series 9 Dalek episodes with Peter Capaldi, a lot of these replicas were actually used on screen, and they became what you could call screen-used Daleks anyway. So eventually, when they went back to the experience, you could class them all as screen-used props. The second question from Martin Turner regards the exhibition Daleks at the Blackpool exhibition. Now, there were 2 versions of the exhibition of Blackpool. Firstly, the one that ran from the 1970s to the 1980s. That used 4 replica Daleks, that were just slightly smaller than the normal BBC Daleks. Some of these were animated. 3 of them were silver and blue, and one of them was a gold Sentinel Dalek. When that closed, bits and pieces of those props were on screen use Daleks. They were actually several of the props were refurbished with parts from those Daleks. The second Blackpool exhibition, which ran in the early 2000s, that was actually used mainly screen use props. There was one Dalek that had come from the Longleat exhibition, which was a replica when that closed, but the other Daleks there were screen use props. Off the top of my head, they had one of the white Imperial Daleks. They had one of the white Necros Daleks, which had been painted black and gold. And they had the Emperor Dalek, and also the original Davros chair with sort of a dummy head and body put into it. Unfortunately, obviously, this closed down again eventually. Bits and pieces have sort of cropped up or sold and cropped up in other displays after that. Most of this is covered in detail over on the website, which is dalek6388.co.uk. We have a special page for the exhibitions, and also the experience information is also sort of mixed into with the new series. So if you wanted to go there, there's loads of information there too.
Dalek Vadron asks, do you have anything on the history of the Dalek font? Who came up with it and why? Excellent question. I think it first appeared in the Dalek book, which was 1964. The artists were Richard Jennings, John Woods, and A.B. Cornwell. Now, this is not my area of expertise, so I don't know how the disciplines overlap. But the word Dalek to me there looks like it's in the artwork, and here in the comic it's in the lettering. So I would go out on a limb and say it might have been Richard Jennings, and it was devised to try to convey the way the Daleks spoke, their harsh machine-like speech pattern, and also because the characters themselves look a little like runes or the Greek alphabet. It has an alien quality as well. It's a very clever idea to have a specific look for the way these aliens spoke. And it's still around 55 years later, as the latest Doctor Who magazine shows.
I had a question from Mark Woods, who is asking why the movie Daleks were seen all around the country in the 1960s, and what places they end up in and why. This is because of the promotion for the first movie. They decided that a tour of the big stores, which included Lewis's and Selfridges, would be a great idea. They took a number of the props, the silver props, and actually painted them red and black, so they could double up on the amount of leader Daleks they seemed to have, and sent them around the country. Obviously, these were the most popular Daleks, I would think, to the kids, would be more attractive to them. Actually, the earliest pictures we have seem to come from June 1965, which is before the film was released. The Daleks appear at Blackpool North train station. They weren't actually there as part of the Lewis's tour. They were there for the Cinema Exhibitors Association conference. So presumably they were sort of trying to get some promotion underway with a lot of the guys behind the scenes, as it were. The promotion went on for a good few months, well into 1966 actually, and there are pictures of in Stoke of very dishevelled props outside the Lewis's store there. That's because the film was still showing regularly. Months and months later, it has to be remembered, it's not like today where the films sort of seem to have a limited life in the cinema. It ran on for months and months and months. After that, some of the props were given away as prizes in competitions, and there are stories of the Lewis's actually buying a couple of the props. After that, the trail seems to go dead. Funny enough, the promotion didn't seem to happen in the same way for the second film. Despite there being leaflets suggesting it would happen, there doesn't really seem to be any photographic evidence of the second movie props around any stores particularly. we covered the second movie quite extensively in Terry Nation Army Series 1. I quite like to do something on this particular element for the first movie in the future, so it might be worth looking out for that sometime soon. Michael Carter asks about who we think has the best Dalek voice in the classic series, and for me, that would have to be Roy Skelton. I think he just had an intensity to his voice that no one else ever got, and that might be sacrilege to the original Dalek voice performers who were also brilliant. But I think Roy Skelton just really got it for me, and he was the one that really made the Dalek sound particularly vicious.
I would generally agree with that, but it's amazing what a difference the modulation makes.
It will totally contaminate the planet within the space of one Spyridon day. You are to be taken back to Skaro to stand trial for crimes against the Daleks.
So, heavy on the modulation, please.
Ed Does Effects asks about the special weapons Daleks and what happened to it after Remembrance of the Daleks. Well, it travelled the exhibitions for a number of years, getting more and more beaten up as it went, with the gun reducing in size. I think it had a light attached to it at one point to simulate a laser. But eventually it found its way back into the right hands and was refurbished by Mike Tucker at the model unit, and he did a brilliant job on it, and it appeared back at the Doctor Who Experience. And it was also seen on screen very briefly in Asylum of the Daleks. But when the Experience closed down, I assume it's hopefully safely in storage somewhere.
Mac asks, what happened to the Dalek saucer after the film? Aren't there photos of it a few years ago, or was that a replica? Well, great question. Firstly, yes, that was a replica, commissioned for Dalek Mania. But in 1969, there was a film called The Body Stealers. Towards the end somewhere, you will see that the saucer is recycled as the alien ship in The Body Stealers. And in fact, it appears on the poster as well. Don't know where it went after that, but may have hung around a prop store for a while, maybe in a private collection. Who knows?
This one's from Dr. Iconics. What are your favourite Dalek designs that never made it to screen? Well, the short answer to that is none, really. I've never really ever seen a fan design or even a sort of pro design, really, that I prefer to the main design of the Daleks. Possibly one or two of them that I would put in as a lot to go alongside the main props, but I would never replace the main props. I think the basic design is still perfect. Question from King of Pointless. If a new Doctor Who movie was made with a large Hollywood budget, how would you recommend they design the Daleks for the big screen? Well, I think this goes back to the question that I just answered. I wouldn't redesign them. I might make small tweaks to them. Things like the colour, I would probably have more muted, darker colours. Maybe blacks, dark greys. Genesis style is my favourite Dalek. I would probably lose the big lights. I'm not a big fan of those. They're a little bit 60s retro for me, so I would have something a bit more subtle. But I just think the design is perfect. I just don't think they need to be changed, really. Okay, this is from David McCurdy. I was just wondering about the Dalek props from Destiny of the Daleks. Do any of them still exist? There were 4 main hero props in Destiny of the Daleks, made up from a combination of Shawcraft props and Goon props. And I think only 1.5 complete props are still known about from Destiny of the Daleks. There were obviously a number of lightweight vacuum form Daleks that were also made, but as far as I'm aware, there was only 1, possibly 2 left after the location filming, and they were more than likely junked out of falling apart. We have a question from Gary Bryant. Why did they change from rings to slats midriff on the midriff section in 1965? Well, that really goes back to the dishes in the Dalek Invasion of Earth. The dishes were obviously to imply that they were getting their power from somewhere else. And Ray Cusick, when he came back to design the chase, felt that he could do a better job than having just a dish on the back, and so he came up with the idea of having solar slats around the midriff section, and it's such a good design. It's basically stuck ever since. It's another example of how perfect his design is. I just wanted to end on a little personal message and say thank you so much to Gav for all his hard work in the last few months. What he's done with these videos, the ingenuity of the visuals and putting them all together, and what could be a very dry subject, they are just unbelievable, and I can't wait to see each one each week, as I'm sure the viewers can't wait as well. I know he's been under a lot of stress doing them. It's been such hard work, but it's fantastic, and so thank you very much, Gav.